It is just my way that progress is being made in observing long-established migrant and minority communities across Europe, but so much still remains to be done. It is as the Vice President, however, at the Congress of Local and Regional Authorities that I address the symposiums today. Know that many of you will know of the Congress, but some might not. For the avoidance of doubt, let me continue by giving you a brief outline of who we are and what we do. We are an institution of the Council of Europe. Our 324 delegates represent over 200,000 local and regional authorities across 47 states, divided into chambers of local authorities and chambers of region authorities. In the unlikely event that you haven't noticed, the European Union is made up of 28 member states. This means that there are 19 states who are members of the Congress of Local and Regional Authority, but not members of the Union. Most notable, these include Russia Federation, Ukraine, Turkey, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Serbia, Georgia, and Azerbaijan. In short, though Congress is constituted under the Council of Europe, it is generally a pan-European body with a much wider remit, able to provide an accredited bridge for dialogue between East and West, North and South, across much of continental Europe. So what do we do? Our primary objectives is to foster consultation, political dialogue between national government and local and regional authorities, working through Council of Europe Committee of Ministers. Key themes to our work over the decade will include human rights, gender equality, strengthening local democracy, preventing corruption, and promoting public ethics. More recently, Congress given increasing emphasis to preventing radicalization, strategies for dealing with issues arising from inward migration, and improving integration policies. My purpose for emphasizing the membership of Congress and its working priorities to these symposiums on cultural diplomacy, conflict resolution, and peace building is by now surely self-evident. Reducing barriers and tackling the causes of conflict through strengthening capabilities and resilience of local and regional governments is an integral part of the work of Congress. Let me give you a few examples. At its 32nd session on the 28th of March 2017, Congress received a report entitled From Reception to Integration. The role of local and regional authority faces migration. This report recognizes local and regional authorities as the first report to call for the recent surge in refugees and migrants coming into Europe. It called for a clear and coherent European response and guidance on how these authorities can move effectively, provide a newly arrived migrant with protection, support, and access to key services such as housing, healthcare, education without discrimination. Outstanding challenges on these issues were presented to a conference of migration and asylum hosted by the Committee of Regions of the European Union in April 2018, at which our rapporteur stressed the need for further progress on this keynote speech. towards a multi-level governance approach across Europe. At its 33rd session on the 18th of October 2017, Congress considered a report on local and regional democracy in Serbia. This report noted that Serbia had responded positively to most of its earlier recommendations made in 2011, and in particular, ratification of the European Online Convention on Transfrontier Cooperation between territorial communities and authorities. At the 34th session on the 24th of March this year, Congress approved a handbook setting out best practice for local and regional authorities and the rights of non-discrimination for refugees, asylum seekers, migrants, Roma and travelers, and LGBT1 people. In continuing our emphasis on the needs to make further response and progress on these issues amongst member states, at our next session on the 7th of November 2000 this year, to speak, Congress will consider the human rights of migrants and internally displaced people. In particular, their rights to participate and vote in elections at local level as a key element of their long-term integration. I pause for a moment because other works with neighborhood states, these are the South-Med partnerships. You may well be of the view that work of the Congress on these and similar issues amongst member states is plenty to get on with. However, the Council of Europe most certainly cannot afford to ignore developments in North America, the Middle East over the past decade or so, and none can of Congress. Within the framework and objectives of the Council of Europe neighborhood policies, Congress has pursued its own program of initiatives aimed at strengthening local and regional governance through the South-Med partnership. So our initial work has focused on Morocco and Tunisia, with particular emphasis on building dialogue with Congress member states, especially those of Eastern European, with knowledge and expertise in the transition to a more open, inclusive, and decentralized system of governance. We've also been able to provide advice and assistance with drafting legislation, strengthening the role of regional and local government, and helping to build capacity and skills at these levels. A further aspect of our work involves supporting development of a more participatory democracy with a focus on young people, women, and civil service. As an indication of progress made, I would point to a conference held in Rabat on the 20th and 22nd of November 2017 on building an inclusive community, integrating migrant, fighting violence, extremism, and involving citizens. More recently, Congress was invited to undertake an assessment of municipal elections across 350 local authorities in Tunisia between the 4th and 6th of May 2018. And these were the first such election since 2011. Both countries have now gained observer status, membership of Congress, giving them the right to participate in its work, and an opportunity for other joint initiatives in the future. We'd also like to thank the Congress that has been able to make a valuable contribution to the work of other bodies set up by the Council of Europe, especially those with local and regional governance. The North-South Center, which was established in 1989, with the objects of promoting universal values and human rights and democracy, in addition to assisting its 28 member state, is embedding good governance through intercultural dialogue. Most of you also will well heard of European Mediterranean Regional and Local Assembly, established by the European Committee of Regions in 2010. Its sole purpose is to develop dialogue and strengthen relationship between countries around northern, southern, and eastern European basin. So, the way we work, I need to stress at this point that Congress, in its role of members of neighborhood state, does not believe in one size fits all. Most of our work in this respect cannot proceed with the agreement of members of participant state on key issues to be addressed, and by which means. Much of our work is done through peer-to-peer exchanges, through which skills, experience, and expertise is shared between local and regional authority, as well as academia and civil society. They learn from us, but just as important, we learn from them. I also need to stress that all initiatives and programs mentioned so far, over and above traditional twinning projects between Congress, towns, and city, and with the rest of the world. Congress is always looking for new ways in which we can build on its existing program of activities. As far back as 2008, the Congress passed Resolution 251 and the city diplomacy. This recognizes the growing importance of cities as political actors on the international stage. Following the first conference on cities diplomacy that year, the first World Conference, Congress developed a range of practical steps and initiatives through which cities, along with their local networks and partners, could help to promote conflict prevention, peace building, and post-conflict resolution. An equally important element of Resolution 251 was that it was also identified clear roles and responsibilities for Congress itself. These includes commitments to participating in development of a implementation structure to facilitate, promote, and city democracy, encouraging, organizing, and associated with observer status at Congress to develop their own city diplomacy activities, working in close cooperation with other relevant international organizations to draw up a charter for city diplomacy and to set up pilot projects, continuing to support the development of local democracy agents, and assisting to establish a dialogue between European and Arab cities. I just want to focus for a few moments on an initiative in my own local authorities, Nottingham City. Let me tell you a little about what's happening to my own local authorities. We have been focusing on cohesion in Nottingham since 2008, looking to build bridges between communities, reduce antisocial behavior, inequalities, building resilient, and supporting communities in being able to resolve problems for themselves. We have taken a community development approach, working with local voluntary groups to developing response and projects that support cohesion in our city. Nottingham has the highest level of cohesion, with 91% of people agreeing that the different backgrounds get on together. The National Integration Green Paper showed that this figure is 81% across the country. So, as a diverse city with many economic challenges, we are performing well. However, the picture is not uniform across the city, So we have a little further work to do. Colleagues, in conclusion, I can see a great deal of synergy between the goals and objectives of the ICD and those of Congress. My key message to the symposiums is simple. If there is a major issue, new initiatives, or innovation that begs to be considered, debated, and addressed across Europe and neighboring states, the Congress of Local and Regional Authorities is a path you cannot ignore. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. And before our panel comes up, we'd like to the opportunity for some questions.
Oh, that's good. I know you reckon.
Just a side remark, I've been involved in intercultural cooperation, but also at the moment refugees came in Europe, and I've been in touch with lots of organizations in Vienna, in Austria, in Germany, in France and Holland, and what really shocked me, and still shocks me, is the bad organization, the lack of budget to pay teachers, because for example I speak some Arabic and I could do some, I just wanted to do benevolently, teach some German for example, or French or whatever, impossible to get in, or there was no budget, or there was no organization, no management, what is going to, no response. I very often even didn't get a reply back. Can you imagine benevolence who don't get a reply back? So you wonder, where is that organization in Europe? Where is it really a priority? Because these people, these immigrants, they need immigration. They need to learn a language, understand, get a dialogue, interaction, and it's not there. I've been in several countries and I know the cultures, but you don't get in. And we will be confronted with immigrants who won't make the connection with the local people. It's really a problem. And I know in England it is a problem in many, but in other countries too.
I think I can speak for England because we have within our education system, we've set aside funding which addresses the issue around migrants. And I know it's a problem within Europe because, for example, there's a youth council which is based in Strasbourg, so you've got the youth parliament, you've got the Council of Europe, and then you got, human rights. But I know it's been discussed, and I attended a conference I think it was in Russia about 3 years ago, and the very same issue was raised as a big issue. But what I think we need to do is get back to the Congress, because the Congress has to lead a way to support those young people, especially those who are at the early ages of their development, to actually address this. It's a big issue, and I don't think we can actually not address it, because it's going to become a big problem. And if we don't address those big problems, it becomes even bigger.
How much are these people committed in their Congress to this sort of issues?
Yeah.
And that should be tested, because we won't get anything done if they're not being tested on their authenticity, on their commitment.
Yeah. Tell you what, I take it back as a challenge for you and said, what are we doing about it? So when we finish, we have a chat.
Yeah,
Is that okay?
Very good.
Any more questions before the panelists come up? Okay, this time I'd like to invite the panelists up to the stage, and we'll have more of a floor. So you can sit here and 4 of the panelists, please. Oh, sorry, you'll be in the next round. Stand by. So in the same format, if you could introduce yourself and ask questions.
Hi. Hello, my name is Alexa Walbrod. I'm from Germany. You mentioned in the chat we had earlier that you got into politics to make a difference.
Yes, I
and that you were reminded by your child not to do it if you couldn't make a difference. And since you're still doing it, my question would be, is making a difference still possible, still available, or still applicable And how do you and maybe the council in general or your colleagues deal with everything that stands in the way of making that difference? The political process, stubborn people, bureaucracy, or just the lack of a current viable solution. How do you approach this, both rationally and emotionally also?
I deal with the emotional first. I have to say, I have a 45-year-old son. And he actually suggested to me, when he was 15 years old, said to my mom, I do not want you to go into politics if you're not going to make a difference. So on my journey, I decided I'm going to make a difference. So I am the older person's champion. In the parliament, I am the youth champion. So I do from the cradle to the grave. And I think what is important, I feel very passionate about what I do. Otherwise, I wouldn't do it at all. I don't. But I think, as I said to you earlier, I remember I had this conversation. I think as politicians, we need to be mindful that we can only stay in certain levels of responsibility for a short time. We need to make way for you young people. And I don't have any problem with that, I'm still got a lot of energy, but I will know when it's time to go. I think I like the whole notion. We have a participable budget, which young people comes to us with some good ideas, and we listen, and we then perhaps invest in those young people. But I don't like individualism. I like a community of self. I think it was Dr. Nayam Akbar once said, a community of self is somebody knowing thyself. And I think we need to ensure that whatever we put in place now is going to be sustainable for the longer future for our young people. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Chan Sati from Cambodia. I am a student here at the ICD. So my question to you is, how does or will Brexit affect the cultural diplomacy between the EU and the UK, especially the youth, the young people? I'm talking from a very bottom-up level, not like top-down, like the government. I'm interested in knowing like what younger generation will be affected.
As part of a youth parliament, it's a big issue because young people in the United Kingdom did not vote to leave. They voted to remain.
Yeah.
But as you know, the people make decisions. You have to act on decisions people made. I think it's the wrong thing for United Kingdom. We're only a population of 60 million. We are small compared to other European countries. I think it's going to have some serious problems for us. And I say that, I know that I can travel very easily across Europe at the moment. I'm not sure when we leave in 2019 what impact it's going to have for us. The young people you speak to, because about globalization, young people want to travel, they want to exchange, they want to travel across Europe, they want to travel across the Far East. And I don't think politicians or ministers have actually thought this through as yet. There is still a lot of doubts, delay, and it's making me very nervous because I think, as I said before, we are just a small country, and I think we need our alliance. We need people we need France, we need Germany, we need those people. And so therefore, as a mom who's just become a grandma, I would like to think that my grandson would be able to travel, easily access across Europe, and he wouldn't have any problem. However, the issue for me, if you were to ask me in 5 years' time, what do I think? I still don't know if it's the best thing we've done. I think we need to reconsider some of the, and have some more dialogue and decisions about what we should do. But I think young people will still travel. They will still go and work abroad if it's possible. And I would hope that it's the same dialogue for you as young people coming to work for the United Kingdom, because we're going to need your skills, and vice versa. Young people are going to need skills from abroad as well. So I think at the moment, I am not sure where this is leading. And I think there's a lot of doubts and concerns amongst young people, because at the end of it, they're our future. and we need to make sure the accessibility is there for them.
Thank you.
Right, I'm Dorcas Abose from Ghana, and still on the young people that we are all talking about. My focus or my question more is on the women and girls. What impact are you, or what empowerment programs or activities do you have for them that, to encourage them or to teach them or train them to go into politics or Congress? What kind of strategies are there for them?
Well, we have in the Congress now, I worked on a program called Enter. I just can't remember, it's too tired. I can't remember actually what it meant. But what we did like a pod exchange, which we have young people having a dialogue and coming to speak to Congress members. I think it hasn't worked across all the 47 states, but I would say 85.5% is working. And so as a result of that program, training development, we have young people now come to Congress 3 times per year. We have January, March, and October, where we have young people from 47 states come and be involved. Our young person from the United Kingdom is a young African Caribbean young woman who's very articulated, and I can see her going far in future. In the United Kingdom, we have a program called, it's a program which is developed to help young people into, it's called the Youth Council, but it's beyond the Youth Council. So we actually give young people the chance to shadow, to be part of the mentoring program, which I was involved in at the early stages, and which I feel like is a way forward, because I know when I actually started, it was quite lonely for me as a female and a black female. But it's not just that. I just think we need to give young people those channels so that they know what they can plan, and part of the curriculum, which is part of at the early school age, so they can actually get involved at the early stage within the education system. So we got those in our city involved. But more importantly, since the Enter program, it's not about just young people who articulate, but young people who are from disadvantaged communities can get involved at the very basic age as well. So I think for me, it's about having some mentoring scheme, to shuttering and then making sure that we can actually encourage those young people to get involved at the local, regional, and national level.
But just a quick one, are these young people from within the UK or from anywhere else?
The UK is doing this program, and I know there are some programs similar in France, and I think there's some programs also in Germany. But some of the Baltic states, there's just been developed, developed as other United Kingdom state. But what we're offering, however, that young people can come as part exchange to see what we're doing in the UK, because we're quite ahead of other countries.
I would have another question if possible. The local authorities or the local councils, they're just that local, right? And you mentioned that you see that and you acknowledge this, that no one size fits all. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, you are one council, you are one group from 47 nations that come together, and you are going towards something in common, I'm assuming, or that is the aim of having a common goal between local authorities. Mm-hmm. How do you achieve that in a comprehensive and sustainable manner, that even though the action and the activities might differ between local authorities to fit them, mm-hmm. the ideas behind it and the goals, everything that they could achieve are still sort of in a comprehensive and collective manner?
I think what we need to be mindful of is that each country starts from a different baseline. And it's just, and I think this is very similar to young people as well. I think if I say to you 3-4 years ago, the Congress did not have a dialogue with young people. Mm-hmm. They did not. We developed a program called Enter, and Enter is to young people from disadvantaged communities, and the project is also called Access to Their Social Rights. And since those programs were developed, the Congress, working with its 47 member states, are then now engaging with young people, because obviously it was never discussed. Mm-hmm. And I'm proud to say, because I sometimes I don't think of the things I've been involved in, because it's not I just am a very humble person. But I think if we could get more of our colleagues across the European states to get, just to get young people, I think young people is important to get those young people involved. And actually, I like the idea of mentoring. I do like that concept of mentoring because, I don't want just young people who are articulated to get involved in those type of situations, but young people who or may have had a really terrible, victims of crime, domestic violence, some of those young people to know that there is an offer that they can actually move from where they are now to where they could get. Maybe slow, but I think if we could just give them those opportunities, I really feel that is the way we should do things, not just about the ones who are able, who went to the right schools or who went to the right universities. That is not empowering young people, our local groups. You have to start from the baseline where you actually get young people. I think it was raised this morning, I can't remember which of the speakers were saying about, we have conflict across our nations. But sometimes as politicians, I think we just need to be mindful that the actions and things we do, we are not engaging with the people who matters. And so as a result, people are trying to find an identity, trying to find a purpose. And if we don't give them that purpose, that's the reason why you have this conflict resolution. So we don't have it right in the United Kingdom, as you know. We have an issue around knife crime. We have young people who don't belong, they don't know where they belong, and they're struggling with the whole identity thing. But I think if we can just get young people to feel that they're part of our society and part of our communities, I think that's the way forward.
Thank you.
Okay, just a last question. So, there are some countries or there are some websites that you visit and you have information about these conferences or exchanges that you can attend. But I hardly do see that of UK. Do you have any? Yeah, so what I'm trying to say is, are there any opportunities for scholars and researchers to school? Because I know most of the time, most schools in the UK are a little, the fees are high. Even when it comes to getting a visa, it's a little bit, it's a challenge. How flexible or how open is the UK to that, in that field?
Well, you're talking about bursary. You can actually apply for bursary. For the university, we have 3 major universities in my city. You got Nottingham University, Nottingham Trent, which is a business international school, and you also have a big college. Now, if you wanted to get a bursary, you can actually, some companies will also sponsor you. So I don't know if they don't. If you were to go on Nottingham University website, you may find that you can actually get access to that. I think it's given that in my city, we have to save £28 million this year. And so we're always going to just protect our own students and our young people. So we don't actually look at promoting external support. However, I think Nottingham Trent University Business School, they do a sponsorship, so you just need to actually know who to get in touch with. And I think also there's a project called Operation Black Votes, which is based in London, and they also will help you to get you some support to come to the United Kingdom. But again, I don't know if you would have a visa, if you would need a visa. Yeah. So, but there's those organizations there. And I need to, perhaps what you need to do is write to our Minister for Education and complain to him that, you're not able to access the information via the website.
Thank you, panelists. We have another round of panelists.
I'll have another one.
And now for our next round of panelists. There was a woman coming this way. No. There wasn't enough seats before. Oh, she was. Are you still available to be a panelist? Thank you.
was very impressed by your talk. Okay. I was very impressed by your talk, and especially when you spoke about building bridges. And with cultural diplomacy, it's basically trying to build the bridges. My interest was with the youth, and specifically what initiatives that you're undertaking to be able to help them to breach the bridges. You mentioned the Nottingham Cohesion strategy, and I was interested in what specific initiatives concern the youth.
We have, in Nottingham, we have a population of 350,000. That's just the city of Nottingham. But within the conurbation, we got just a 1-point-something million population. The community cohesion strategy we've developed was is 2008, and as a result of, there was an issue around conflict within our city. You know, we had knife crime, antisocial behavior, and all those. So our leader of the council at the time decided to set up this strategy for helping and supporting young people. And that's run in partnership with the police, and also the youth and community teams. And so that's what we have in terms of the cohesion. We've actually developed that. And that's the reason why we're able to reduce to we're now working at 91% compared to national at 81%. So that's working itself. That's been going since 2008. And, you know, in some cities you have this conflict. We don't experience that in my city at all. We have communities living amongst themselves and they're living together. We have the Muslim, the Hindu, the Caribbean, the African community all living in collaboration with each other. We don't have some of the problems like in London, Croydon, places like that. So we feel that the community cohesion strategy is helping to work within schools, universities, and within the college, FE colleges. So I think that's helping. And I hope if you ever want to come and see how it's working, you are more than welcome. And you can also stay with me if you want. I know it's expensive, yeah. But you're welcome to come and have a look at what we're doing in Nottingham. Okay.
Any other question? Now I'd like to open this to the room if there's any more questions we have for. Yes.
My name is Eileen, and I'm live in Germany, originally from Panama. I would like you to maybe address how you see in youth the growth of violence amongst youth, that are young adolescents or are growing up in violent societies, and that violence and conflict is a norm. So in the US, we just had these horrible shootings, massive killings in high schools, where in public institutions you're no longer safe to learn. It's a horrible problem for the United States. It was quite shocking. Of course, you see the young people demonstrating out in Washington, D.C., and trying to have a voice of the youth. There's a lot of youth in the room here today. So, yeah, I worry about this, being a mother of 3 children myself, how violent our youth has become. And since you work a lot with youth and these programs, and in Nottingham, how to really provide support for maybe people that come from trauma, from homes that are experiencing extreme trauma. How can we really help them go into society and have a positive future?
It's a tall order, that is.
Yeah, sorry.
I think I was talking, I can't remember the young lady I was speaking to earlier today. You know, we said that people don't feel a part of a community. They feel excluded. And I know, I don't know what's happening in your city. You have a lot of particularly young black boys who were born in Britain or born in Germany, and then they're asked, or the question is asked, where are you from? Can you imagine how disenfranchised that can be to a young person who's born either in Germany, France, United Kingdom, they know no other situation but from the place they were being born. I think we as politicians need to refocus our energies and said, how do we engage with these young people? Because they need to feel wanted. They need to feel they're part of a society and don't look as being different, because you and I we were transported into whichever country we chooses to live. So we know our culture, our identity. For some of these young people, they're lost. They're lost because people are saying you're not part of them. Until all politicians of local, regional, and national governments understand what is happening, and they need to understand what is happening. You have to engage, and you have to also get young people, male mentors, to go out and work with these young people in centers, in schools, and for them to become youth leaders, And once you've educated and direct those young people, they become enablers themselves, so they can go out and teach another. There's a synergy about it takes one family 10 times to fill the cup or a glass. It should take another family 5 times. It should take the next one once. Do you see what I'm saying? It's how the process is done. So therefore, if we make young people feel that they belong to a society, then I don't think you will have all these problems. It's because they don't feel they belong. And so therefore, they said, who am I? They should not be asking those questions. But equally, parents need to set that foundation as well for the children. It cannot depend on society alone to develop those strategies for young people. It has to also start from the home. So you're good with your children. You direct them, you tell them what is good and what is wrong. But you cannot leave it alone. But so equally, it has to start from the schools as well. At primary sector, I don't know, we have different, we have primary level, secondary, and then you go into higher and further education. I think it has to start there. And so it's about parents themselves also working with those schools. I'm a governor of a school. I've been my 30th year, I've been a governor. My son thinks I'm mad, but I thoroughly enjoy it because I work with young people in schools. I develop programs for them in schools. So I feel very passionate about young people because, I've got 18 nieces and nephews, and I want to make sure that all of them feel it's part of society. I do. And so I think it has to start at home, but it also has to start with the very primary sector and go up to the secondary sector. And then when those young people feel that they're part of that system or society, then they can also then help other young people to grow and develop.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I'm Joe. I'm from California. I'm a student here at the Academy. Mine is particularly about the Brexit question and the youth. During the time of Brexit, the youth were polling at about 75% against. But then some months later, that same question, the number changed to 60%. There is a bit of a pessimistic feeling about the direction of what's becoming normal in the world. And my question would be more along the lines of, is this more of an apathy towards the future? Because we are right now experiencing demagogues coming out of the United States. We're seeing dictators becoming more powerful. And so it is a bit of a dark, it does have a feeling of entering a dark time. So do you feel it's more empathy from the youth, or is it a misinformation from the establishment media sources that maybe are not wanting the youth to look left, like Jeremy Corbyn or those names?
I think there was kind of, if you remember when the whole issue on Brexit, the referendum, I went out and campaigned for the I campaigned in my constituency and other constituency that we should remain. And the reason why I campaigned to remain is because of my links with the European Council. But if you remember how the campaign actually had in the United Kingdom, it was based on prejudices. That's what it was done. It was based on fear. Because suddenly, all these foreigners come and take our jobs. And now, we're in a situation where we need these foreigners to come back. They're leaving, they're not coming back. So we're having problems with our hospitals, we're having problems, with doctors. So I think, I don't know if it's apathy, I just think it's been long-winded. It's, the whole notion around whether we're going to remain, whether we're going to go for this status, we're going to change, are we going to be involved in Europe. I don't think you can actually blame Mr. Corbyn altogether, but in part, yes. He's my leader, I'm socialist, he's my leader nationally, but I don't agree with some of his own status. I think if you were to have a second referendum, I think the result would be different. I think a lot of people were misinformed, and people's media media furor, media took it out of context. I don't think at the time when people were voting to leave the European Union, I don't think they knew the consequences, if I say that to you. I don't think many people knew the consequence of their action. But I just feel like there was a lot of fear embedded within people's mind, and it wasn't also, it was, if you look at the in terms of London voted, 90% of London voted to remain, which has a large, the multicultural city, and where they actually played on people's mindset, it was in the north. So you got the northeast, Liverpool, all those areas where there was a lot of unemployment amongst white working class young people. So they voted to leave. So if you look at the pattern, within where the Brits sit, one, in my own city, where it's a city where people they live together, and we lost it just by about 12 votes. So I think it was fair. I didn't like the way it was done, and I think the then Prime Minister, led by Nigel Farage, he actually led him down the wrong path. He led our Prime Minister, Mr. Cameron at the time, down the wrong path, and I don't think they thought of the consequences of their action. But if you were to say to me, would there be another one? I don't think the government would go for it, but I think they should go for a second referendum, because I think they will lose it.
Yeah. Yep. We have a question back.
Yeah, my name is Esteban. I'm working here at the ICD as the head of media.
I can't hear you, sorry.
My name is Esteban.
Okay.
Okay, Steve in English. Irrelevant now. Anyway, yeah, I'm the head of media at the ICD, plus professionally I'm an advertising for relations plus journalist. I have a question because now I was, listening your answer to our colleague Joseph, and I remember the words of the previous speaker, before the lunch break, Rival al-Assad. And for example, he mentioned the phenomena of when politicians are in power and are following, the orders of the elites and so on, of lobbies and so on. In Spain, because we have a lot of that in Spain, we call that process, that phenomena, revolving doors.
Yeah.
I don't know how is it called in English or how the
Same.
other countries, the same thing? Okay, good. Now my question is like that. Don't you think, as you were saying that, for example, there was a misinformation and so on regarding the phenomenon of Brexit, don't you think that maybe what happened, regardless of any kind of propaganda, let's say from one side or another, the big mistake, independently of your political idea, was the bad praxis of everybody was in power or also in opposition? I don't think it's the consequence of any ideology or propaganda and so on. I think it's the consequence of a bad praxis. For a long time, people are thinking more maybe about money than, to be, to leave the position, to leave the chair afterwards, at least with the, with the love of the people. to say something. Don't you think that maybe that's the problem? And I don't know.
It's very difficult to actually say. I think I actually really did think the way the campaign was run in the United Kingdom. I'm not here to defend any political party, but I thought they both did not do a very good campaign. The socialists, the conservative, they did not run a very good campaign. It got really nasty if you followed it and BBC World. I prefer BBC World to CNN. But BBC World is if you look at the way the whole campaign was actually run, it was just true, it was run through fear. And if you weren't of the mind to read and analyze information for yourself, you were misled. People want different things, it's a hierarchy of need, air, shelter, and food. That's the main hierarchy of needs. People thinking those people who are unemployed, who are living in the north and some parts of the southern part of the United Kingdom, they were looking at, if I can't get a job, then why would I support this issue of remaining in Europe? I think we need to look at we need to look at a wider concept of what, as I said earlier in my conversation to a young lady who sat here, Britain is only a small island, it's only 60 million population. And I think we do need our alliances across Europe. I feel a little bit sorry, even though she's not my political support, but I feel a little bit sorry for Mrs. May currently at the moment, because she's split one side she's pulling there and one side she's pulling here. And she's not getting the support of her ministers because they're split themselves. Now, I'm glad I'm not in her shoe, because I wouldn't know what to do, obviously. But I don't think they're going to get what they're actually proposing, because I think France and Germany are pulling from different areas. Because the people, we got a democracy in the United Kingdom, as you know. The people decides, so we have to go with the people, even though it wasn't the big difference between those leaving and those remaining. And so, because of the way the political system in the United Kingdom, we have to go with the majority rules. So, it's about money in the end. It is.
We have time for one last question.
I would personally object to the last statement, because yes, okay, let's say the will of the people, but if the people are being misled, if I want a red car, and a car salesperson delivers me a blue car, say hey, get my money back or give me the red car. But why is it always that if the electorate is being misled and based on lies or half-truths, sophistic, whatever prejudices, we tend to make choices, and then afterwards, like Farage, he admitted, oh yes, I was lying about the NHS. Shouldn't we have a mechanism to say, okay, so you lied all the way, and not only you, but the results are null and void. Either we do something new, new round, or whatever, because saying it's the will of the people, then you can actually justify anything, as long as.
Well, I'm in a very good position, because I'm a local councillor in a local region. However, I had to go out and do my campaign.
Yeah.
So it was the national, like the ministers and the members of parliament who made that decision. It's a tall order. I have to say it's a very tall order, because what the people of the United Kingdom are saying, because of the results, it wasn't that much difference within the result for the leave and the remain. But they had to go for the majority, which was to leave. And I actually sent an email to then Mr. Cameron, who was the Prime Minister at the time, saying, oh, it's not that much difference in terms of the percentage between the remain and the leave. But what he do? He stepped down, so he just left the problem to somebody else to resolve. I don't think they'll have a second referendum. I don't think they will. That's the United Kingdom. I don't think they'll have a second referendum. I think they're going to stick to the Leave campaign, and I'm not sure where that's going to leave us.
And we'll finish with one last question.
Oh yes.
Yes. Well, what worries me about Brexit is not the decision by the British people and the British government, but the reaction of the European Union, not recognizing that there is tremendous frustration about the development of the European Union. I, for instance, wanted a referendum when Iceland joined the European Economic Community. And I think people were misled at that time.
Yes.
Now, I've been fighting for and advocating for increased European cooperation in the Council of Europe, between European states, etc. But I am very, very skeptical about the development of the European Union. And as a trade union leader, I spent most of my time for years on years fighting the European Union, demanding marketization within the social services, within the energy sector, water, etc. So I think we should be very, very careful categorizing all those who voted for Brexit as being in the mold of Nigel Farage, because there are other people like me with deep concerns about the development of the European Union. I would have voted for Brexit.
You would?
Yes, I would have voted for Brexit out of frustration over the European Union being a marketization, tool of marketization, and anti-social in that effect. What I had been hoping for was the European Union would have sat down and said, now, there are these growing frustrations about the way we are proceeding. Let's now sit down and take this into account and try to come to an agreement. So we should be criticizing Brussels, not only London, although I hardly can find a single point I agree with the present government in London at all. But thank you for your very excellent talk.
And your response?
Well, it was more or less a comment.
It was making a point.
Okay.
I was just making a point.
So,
Yes.
thank you very much. Round of applause, please.